Rabotai. A round of applause to our choir boys, Rabotai, please. Tonight is a very special night. Yom Yerushalayim. The Navi Zechariah tells us, "V'haya b'yom hahu asim et Yerushalayim even ma'asa lechol ha'amim." Yerushalayim will be a place where it will be a stone burden for the world. If you look, many of our hayalim who went in different areas and locations, what did they see in the houses? They see Yerushalayim ila Kodesh Rabotai. Talmidei Hagra write that the first sign of the Geulah is Kibbutz Galuyot, and the second is Binyan Yerushalayim. The 7 steps, I'm not going to mention all. Anshe Knesset HaGedolah in the Amidah, ومتكن ברכה ברוך אתה השם בונה ירושלים. מה זה בונה ירושלים? Not מלשון עבר בנה, and not yivne. Boneh, it's ongoing, Rabotai, it's present, it's in our days. Yerushalayim is mentioned approximately 660 times in Tanakh. History teaches us that Bet HaMikdash was destroyed twice. The city was besieged 23 times and captured and reconquered 44 times. Yet in all those years, wherever we lived, we never ceased to pray about Yerushalayim. We faced Yerushalayim. We spoke the language of Yerushalayim. We remember Yerushalayim in every chuppah, in every wedding, in every home that we build, at the high points of the year. Join us tonight, Rabotai, as we rejoice Yerushalayim, and as the Navi Zechariah says, "Vaya b'yom hahu avakesh lashmid et kol hagoyim habaim al Yerushalayim." Hashem will protect us and allow us to continue seeing in the building of Yerushalayim. Rabotai, on behalf of our entire kahal, I would like to share the utmost hakarat hatov to the following neshot hayil for decorating and planning this event. You could see it when you walk into the building. There's a special touch. There's something very unique to this event. Please, round of applause for Mimi Mizrahi, Claudette Savdi, Sharon Savdi, Paula Ben Zaken, who, by the way, this morning helped put up this beautiful banner of the Kotel Yehi Ratzon that will be there very soon. Lucy Mizrahi. I would like to also thank our rabbis and the committee for allowing this concept to come into fruition. I'd like to thank Joey Mosseri. Round of applause. Danny Mizrahi, Shabtai Shrem, for all your hours in planning this event. For your undivided devotion and attention to developing Ahava's Susu Hamawi's choir. Rabotai, Hazan Emmanuel Shalom. Not loud enough. David Savdi. And tonight's MC, where are you? Please stand up. Raymond Cohen. I want the Kahal to know, Raymond just came back from an unbelievable Shabbaton. We had 2 buses. Unbelievable Shabbaton that he ran, him and his wife, Yeskula Mitzvot. Another round of applause. Abotai, please join me as we recite Shila Ma'alot and Emi Sheberach L'Hayalei Tzahal, followed by Tefillah L'Shlom Medinat Yisrael. Shila Ma'alot, Sa'ina El He'arim, An Yavo Ezri, Zimim Adonai, Yosef Shemayim Va'aretz, Ali Tenamot Laglecha, Yinu Shomrecha, Yinelem Eloisha, Shomrei Yisrael, Adonai Shomrecha, Adonai Selecha, Yadi Vinecha, Yomam, Hashem, Eshlo Yakeka Ve'arech Balayla, Adonai Shmecha Mikol Ra'in Shmot Nafshecha, Adonai Shmot Zravoecha, Me'ata Ve'onami Sheberach, Avotenu HaKedoshim, Avraham, Yitzhak Ve'Yakov, Hu Yivarech et Hayalei Tzva Agna Yisrael, Ha'omdim Shmot Tzenu, V'Arei Eloheinu, Migevul HaLevanon, Ve'ad Yom Mitzrayim, Min Hayam HaGadol V'Arava, ויבשה באוויר וימיתן אדוני את אויבינו הקמים עלינו ניגפים לפניהם. כשברוך הוא ישמור ויציל את חיינו מכל צרה וצוקה, כל נגע ומחלה, וישלח ברכה והצלחה בכל מעשה ידיהם, ידבר שונאינו תחתיהם, ויעטרם בכתר ישועה בת ניצחון, וקוים בהם הכתוב, כי אנא אלוהיכם ההולך עמכם, להילחם לכם אויביכם שידכם וכן יהי רצון, ונאמר אמן. Also, Rabotai, we have a girl from our Kahal that we heard she went through there was a difficult accident, and it was a heavy heart with us tonight, but we are here for the boys, for the choir, but also to pray for her to Fu'ah Shelema. She's in stable condition. Two girls, yes, two girls. מי שברך אמותינו הקדושות, שרה רבקה רחל ולאה, הוא ישלח רפואה שלמה לכל חולות ישראל, ובכללם לשרה בת רבקה וגם שמחה בת נעימה. אין נפנה להן, אין נפנה להן, אין נפנה להן. הקדוש ברוך הוא ישלח להם רפואה שלמה, רפואת הנפש והגוף, וכן יהי רצון, ונאמר אמן. רבותיי, תפילה לשלום מדינת ישראל. אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו, ברך נא את מדינת ישראל, הגן עליה בחסדיך, ופרוס עליה סוכת שלומך, הסר מעליה כל אויב וכל צרה, ושלח אורך ועמיתך לשרה ויועציה, ותקנם בעצתם לפניך. ברך נא את מגריני עץ קודשך, חזק את רוחם, אמץ את זרועם, והנחילם עתיד ניצחון. שים שלום, טובה וברכה בארצך, וקראת ישועה חומותיה ושערי תהילה, פקודנה את כל אחינו בארצות פזוריהם, והביאם לציון עירך ברינה, וירושלים בקדושך בשמחת עולם. השב שכינתך לציון עירך, בסדר העבודה לירושלים. תחזינה עינינו בשובך לצום רחמים, ושם נעבדך ביראה כי מעולם מחשבים קדמוניות, וכן יהי רצון, ונאמר אמן. בכבוד, our MC, Raymond Cohen.
All right, boys. This is the moment. This is the moment that we've all been waiting for. The anticipation, the build-up, the practice. Everybody has been looking forward to this. Everybody has been looking forward to you. We want to thank our sponsors for tonight's event, Albert and Sally Mosari and family, who generously sponsored the event in memory of Rabbi Yosef Hamwi, Zecher Tzadik Livracha, who is the inspiration for this choir, who, if he was sitting here tonight, would be a passionate advocate for Eretz Yisrael, would care about Am Yisrael, would want to thank Borei Olam for the miracles that he's done for us throughout the centuries, particularly what happened on Yom Yerushalayim. He would be very excited about what we're doing tonight. And without further ado, boys, I want to call you up to sing the very first song, Yafat Ain. The song is dedicated in memory of Adina Frida Bat Yafa Debbie by Joey and Jack Oved. Boys, bechavod.
After the October 7th atrocities, the Kahal was involved in multiple projects. Tonight, I'd like to call upon Mr. Gabriel A. Shehevar to come up to receive the Yom Yerushalayim Award from Ahva for his immediate financial support towards the effort in response to the October 7th atrocities, and for being a role model of Hesed and kindness for the Ahaba community and family and beyond. Iskula mitzvot.
I learned this from my rabbis, Rabbi Shimon Aluf, and of course Rabbi Yosef Hamway. It's really in their honor.
The Ovid family was very involved tonight, but not only tonight. I'd like to call upon David Oved, Baruch haba. Let's do some music. David Ovid's family, wife, children, come up. Danny, son-in-law, boys, come up, come up. Unwavering support support for the IDF, being a role model of chesed and kindness to the Abot community and beyond. We do a short song for Gabi Shehebar too. Small song. Gabi, come up for a picture. Small picture with Gabi.
Dedicated by Danny and Mimi Mizrahi in honor of their children. Azaga Baruch, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful job. Round of applause. At this point, boys, I want to invite you guys back to come sit down. Baruch Hashem, we have a lot of things happening tonight. We have a beautiful Siyoum in Pirke Abot that's going to be taking place later on in the night. And I want to acknowledge, particularly it was a family learning initiative, fathers and sons, rabbis and students. And I want to especially point out the Talmud Torah and Rabbi Faham and all of his students, all of his young boys learning Torah. All of his young boys learning Torah and infusing this kahal with meaning. To all Rabbi Faham's boys, I want you to stand up, and I want a round of applause for all of the boys that worked so hard to be Misayem, the Masechet Abot. And at this point, for the boys, as a little reward, you're going to get the real reward in Shamayim. I want to invite you downstairs. Rabbi Faham has a lot of prizes for you. And speaking of Yom Yerushalayim, you know, we have this idea, Im eshkachech Yerushalayim tishkach yemini. If I forget Yerushalayim, I'll forget my right hand. What does that mean? Im lo a'aleh al Yerushalayim al rosh simchati. The peak of my happiness if I don't remember Yerushalayim. What does that mean? It's a mashal for a person. And the person was waiting so long to have his grandchild. And lo aleinu, at a certain point, of course, his life has to come to an end. And then they go, and he has that grandchild afterward. And everybody knows this grandchild has his name. And they get to the milah, and the milah's in the house. And they get to the milah, and they're all excited, and they're rejoicing, and they're happy. B'siman tov nolad lanu ben, and they can't believe the happiness that they're experiencing. And then they realize how much more happy would we be if we had our grandfather to celebrate with us, if he was here with us. How much more of a happiness would it be? We are very happy. We are very happy here tonight. We're celebrating. We rejoice in our weddings, in our bar mitzvahs. But how much happier would we be if we had Yerushalayim HaBinuyah? How much more excited would we be at every occasion in our lives? And speaking of Yom Yerushalayim, I want to first show you a message from Rabbi Savdi, straight from Yerushalayim, Ir HaKodesh.
Dear Kahal, it is my pleasure to share a thought with you from Yerushalayim, Ir HaKodesh, L'chbod Yom Yerushalayim. This special day when HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us a big hug and a big smile with the return of this holy city to our control 57 years ago. Baruch Hashem, the city has grown and grown since then. Every time I'm zocheh to come to Yerushalayim, I've seen tremendous growth of the population, more Jews in Yerushalayim, more life in Yerushalayim, more buildings being built, more shops, more religious growth, more Batei Knesset, Batei Midrash, schools, and Chesed organizations. The city is becoming more and more beautiful each day. The Navi Yeshayahu tells us, Simchu et Yerushalayim, Gilu ba, rejoice with Yerushalayim, be happy with it. And that's exactly what you're all doing on this very special night for our Kahal. Our boys are singing songs filled with love and longing for Yerushalayim, following in the footsteps of our great Chachamim and Paitanim, our rabbis and poets who composed beautiful, moving songs and piyutim to capture the magic of Yerushalayim into words. So a big Chazak Baruch to the Yosef Hamway Boys Choir. I can't wait to hear the recording when I get back. A big Chazak Baruch to the rabbis and teachers who taught Pirke Avot to our Kahal. A huge Chazak Baruch to all the Mesayimim who took time from their daily schedules to learn these precious Mishnayot. I'd like to give you a blessing from Yerushalayim. Yebaracha Hashem Siyoum, Ur'eh betuv Yerushalayim kol yemei hayecha. May Hashem bless you from Yerushalayim, and may you all see the greatness of Yerushalayim for eternity. This year, the 57th anniversary of regaining control of Yerushalayim is very befitting, because it's Gematria Zan, sustains, because the beracha, the blessing, the shefa, the influence, the sustenance from Hashem comes to Yerushalayim first and then to the rest of the world. Kisham siva Hashem et beracha hayim ad ha'olam nizkeh lir'ot haslachat hayalenu v'ashavat hatufenu minyan bet hamikdash hashlishi b'meram b'yamenu. Amen.
News brings you the latest incident to upset the chancelleries of
the Muslim nations in the Middle East would not accept Israel's existence since its founding in 1948. They began amassing huge amounts of sophisticated weaponry and lobbying for the implementation of boycotts, divestment, and sanctions against the Jewish state. On the 15th of May 1967, on Israel's Independence Day, a 3-week period began, which was one of the most tense and fearful periods in Israel's history. In direct contravention of international agreements, Egyptian leader Jamal Abdel Nasser removed the UN peacekeeping forces and began moving tens of thousands of soldiers and hundreds of tanks into what was the demilitarized Sinai Peninsula towards Israel's southern border. Egypt also blockaded the Straits of Tiran, an open international waterway which was essentially a declaration of war. Israel turned to the nations of the world, primarily to the United States, for assistance against Egyptian aggression, but somehow all Western countries decided to remain neutral. Very quickly it became apparent that the promises were all but forgotten. Israel, with 2.5 million Jews, was left alone to face the might of the Arab nations. Egypt, Syria, Jordan, Iraq, and Lebanon formed a military alliance and began moving forces into Jordan towards Israel's borders. When the Arab countries realized that the world had abandoned Israel, many other Muslim countries were openly calling for the destruction of Israel. The will and means to murder millions of Jews were evident. Top IDF commanders expressed their concerns at the high price Israel was liable to pay in a war with the Arab world. Some military experts projected a toll between 20 and 100,000 lives. Israel prepared cemeteries all over the country, ready to accommodate many expected victims. Massive parks were prepared in Jerusalem, Tel Aviv, and other cities in case the cemeteries would have no more space. World governments, instead of defending Israel's right to exist, warned Israel continuously not to attack. However, the people of Israel had no choice but to go to war, to defend their country and their very existence. At 7:15 a.m. on June 5th, 1967, the IDF launched Operation Moked, Focus. Almost the entire Israeli Air Force was dispatched in a daring mission. Only 12 planes stayed behind. The risk of this operation was extraordinary. as the fighter pilots flew at an unprecedented low altitude of less than 20 meters above the ground. Egypt had the most advanced ground-air missile defense systems in the Middle East. Most of the Israeli jets were old and outdated French planes. If the Israeli jets would have been detected, many would have fallen, and Israel would have been left with practically no air force. And then, a miracle occurred. The most advanced Russian MiG jets that patrolled the airspace along the borders between Egypt and Israel were, for that one critical hour, grounded. Incredibly, at that very same time, the top commanders of Egypt, Jordan, and Iraq flew together to observe the Egyptian forces invading Sinai. The Egyptian officers had ordered all anti-aircraft units not to fire unless given a direct order as long as they were in flight. This created total confusion on the Egyptian ground as Israel struck exactly in that window of time. By 7:45 a.m., the high hand of Providence resulted in the Israeli Air Force reaching all the Egyptian airfields without even one plane being detected. More than 200 Egyptian planes, almost half of Egypt's fleets, were almost instantaneously destroyed, also bombing the runways and making impotent the mightiest air force in the Middle East. General Moti Hod, commander of the Air Force, said, "In my wildest dreams, I never would have conceived of such an incredible success." A second wave of Israeli jets were directed to Cairo to confront the remains of the Egyptian Air Force. And here, another miracle occurred, no less miraculous than the first. Even though Israel had lost the element of surprise and the anti-aircraft systems were operating with full capacity, Egypt was only able to hit one Israeli plane. The Israeli Air Force went on to destroy a total of more than 300 Egyptian planes, and every airfield in Egypt was neutralized. It was nothing less than a military miracle, seemingly impossible. And then, another miracle occurred. It was as if God hardened the heart of the Egyptian President Nasser, who continuously gloated about his glorious military victory over Israel. In the Arab media, President Nasser spoke of the end of Israel's air force and of the Egyptian tanks on their way to Jerusalem. Jordan, Syria, and Iraq believed these bombastic statements and wanted to join him in the great victory against the Jews. All the Arab air power struck simultaneously on multiple fronts. In almost any other scenario, Israel would not have been able to respond as quickly as it did. The timing was seemingly orchestrated to position Israeli jets exactly where they should be. Not in 6 days, but in 6 hours, the war was won.
A biblical prophecy comes to pass as the forces of Israel sweep on in an astonishing triumph of strategy. After achieving air supremacy, her forces thrust like an avenging sword at the very heart of Arab self-confidence.
And then, perhaps, the greatest miracle of all, a miracle Israel never expected: Jerusalem. Again, it seemed as though it was a divine appointment in time. Jerusalem was to be restored to the Jewish people. After 2,000 years, the enemies of Israel had twice as many soldiers as we did, 3 times as many planes, 4 times as many tanks. The odds were stacked against us on every military front. The love of Israel, self-sacrifice, and courage of the Israeli soldiers, combined with divine guidance and assistance, made these miracles possible. Yitzhak Rabin, then the Minister of Defense, was given the honor of giving the war its name. He chose the 6-day war we're calling the 6 days of creation, as Israel too was created with the liberation of Jerusalem. As the center of gravity of the Jewish people has now returned to the land of our fathers, the Torah center of the world has once again returned to Jerusalem. The chief rabbinate of the State of Israel has established the 28th of Iyar, a day of Hallel and Hodayah, praise and thanks for the salvation of our people and the liberation and return of our capital, Jerusalem. Jews in Israel and in every country in which they reside come together in prayer and celebration. Similar to Hanukkah and Purim, it sometimes takes many years for the miracles to be fully recognized and celebrated. the Mizrahi World Movement is involved in massive community-wide celebrations across the globe, from London to Los Angeles, from Melbourne to Johannesburg to Chicago and Toronto. For 2,000 years, our hope never died. Our faith as a people never wavered. Wherever Jews were and whenever they prayed facing Jerusalem. Whatever happened the night before, whether it was the Crusades, the Inquisition, Muslim oppression, or Nazis in Germany, the next morning a Jew would wake up, dust himself off, put on his talit, face Jerusalem, and pray to come home, knowing somehow, some way, God would bring us back. This is our greatest celebration, to be alive in this generation where the prayers of our fathers and mothers have finally been answered, to be alive and to take part in Jewish destiny. To experience miracles of divine providence, Bayamim Hahem, Bazman Hazeh, like in those days, but in our time.
HaKadosh Baruch Hu breaks the rocks. And he said that stands for Syria, Lebanon, Iraq, Yarden, Misraim. That HaKadosh Baruch Hu always has our back. He's always watching out for us, always takes care of us, and will always, in Be'ezrat Hashem, He'll help us build the third Beit HaMikdash. On that note, I want to invite Rabbi Yotav Eliach to address the Kahal. Rabbi Yotav is a noted scholar and passionate advocate of Am Yisrael and Eretz Yisrael, the Chavod Rav.
If you have a chance tonight, go on the internet and go to Israeli channels. I'm a big fan of Channel 14, and watch the celebrations that occurred tonight in Yerushalayim to get a sense of what Yom Yerushalayim means in Yerushalayim in our time, even in the middle of a war. We're living in a day and age, and this is unfortunately not new, but it's been amplified since October 7th. Literally everything we know to be true, literally everything we know to be sacred, is not only attacked, but denied. Over and over and over. And a lot of us, when you live at this age that we're living in, it's post-October 7th, I'm involved in lots and lots of chat groups, trying to do my piece, certainly to be a cheerleader, to give people information, be involved in little stakot efforts here and there. And you read a lot about people saying the world is crazy, that's nuts, that's upside down. And I always chime in and go, I wish. It's evil. There's a big difference between evil and somebody who's mixed up or somebody who just doesn't know. The people who are creating the narrative against us know very well what they're doing. And nothing personifies our story and the attempt of our enemies to deny that story like Yerushalayim. It's remarkable. They pick the center of our world, the center of our lives, and there's a term that you can't, I've been hearing this for decades. Now it's very popular, unfortunately, in American universities, Western European universities. It comes from Hamas, it comes from Islamic Jihad, it comes from the Palestinian Authority. The crime of the Jews trying to Judaize Jerusalem. Let that sink in for a minute. The crime that the Jews, obviously colonialist, imperialist, all that other nonsense, the crime of Judaizing Jerusalem. And then you have these same kids who are parroting from the river to the sea. You don't know what river and what sea, but they parrot this as well, yeah. We're Judaizing Jerusalem. And just stop and think about that for a second. So what I want to do is briefly give a picture of who Yerushalayim really belongs to. And I'm going to stay away from anything that's purely spiritual, and I'm going to stick to factual and historical. Because people can make all sorts of arguments spiritually that I can't fight. They can tell me that the souls of some great saint is hovering over Jerusalem. I can't prove that's not true. They can't prove that the neshamot of some great chachamim are hanging over Mecca. That's a silly argument to make. Let me talk facts. And here are the two sets of facts I want to talk about. One, there are three religions. Two are ways of life, Judaism and Islam. Christianity is more of a religion, in my opinion. But each one, when anybody talks about Jerusalem, anybody, it's the city that's holy to the three monotheistic religions. No one can ever talk about Yerushalayim being Jewish. It could be Yom Yerushalayim today. And there could be a story of Birkat Kohanim and Sukkot and Chol HaMoed. The city that is holy to the three monotheistic religions of the world. Thank you very much. They can't ever talk about Yerushalayim as being ours. And whenever possible, they try to distort history as much as they possibly can to make it appear that the city is equally holy to three groups. And I don't know why this one group seems to think that it's the most important to them. Well, I can give you some answers. Now, it's important to keep this in mind. When I talk about giving answers, I'm not really interested in debating people who hate us, hate every argument that I'm making. I never took courses on dealing with what do you do with missionaries who'll say X, Y, and Z. Baruch Hashem, I've learned a decent amount of Tanakh, so I could be a Jew. And by definition, if you know enough Tanakh, every time they misquote something, I can answer you. I'm not studying Tanakh so I could fight with missionaries. It's a byproduct. Same reason you study Halakha and Torah. It's not so I can spend my days fighting with people who disagree with me. It's a byproduct. Same thing with what I'm about to tell you. This is for you. This is for us. This is for our children. This is for our grandchildren. Something we need to know. Because when we know something, then we're motivated. And when we're motivated, we do something. And when we do something, we change the world. I often make the point, the world has a lot of fans. Nothing wrong with being a fan. I'm a fan as well. But there's a few things that I'm a player in. And one player is worth 1 million fans. So we've all seen it since October 7th. Am Yisrael, particularly in Israel, particularly in the United States, in particular in the Orthodox community, both in Long Island where I live, and in Brooklyn and in Deal, we stepped onto the field to make a difference. We're not putting shmatas on our heads and screaming on campuses. They're not changing anything in reality. They're ticking off a lot of people, but they're not changing anything. We're changing stuff. So what I'm about to talk about is for you to believe something, to understand something, so your feelings about Yerushalayim can become stronger. Can it end up being helpful in an argument? I guess. But that's not the reason I'm talking about it. The way to look at things is let's take a look at these three religions / ways of life. Each one has a holy book that they follow. Now I'm saving us for last. We got the Christians and we got Islam. And then I'm going to talk history, not my opinion, historical facts. What did Christianity do with the city? What did Islam do with the city? And what does Judaism do with the city? Not my opinion, not my feeling, facts. I'm sounding like Ben Shapiro, right? I wish. Anyway, let's talk about their books, and I'm going to do this briefly. This is not meant to be a long, long historical lecture. I'll begin with the Christians because they're the oldest of the two offsprings that we have. In Christianity, the idea of Yerushalayim is similar to the whole idea of Israel, which to them is the Holy Land. There are no mitzvot, commandments, in the New Testament that talk and say to a Christian, you need to do X, you need to do Y, you need to do Z. At the end of the day, all of Israel is a religious museum. In their minds, it traces the life of Oto Ha'ish. His life. He was born here. He preached over here. He walked on the water over there. He fed 500 people with bread, a loaf of bread here. He was supposedly crucified over there. He ascended up to heaven there. That's what it's about. There is no mitzvah in the New Testament for any Christian to say, I must go to Jerusalem. It's this holiday. It's this season. I must go to fulfill my religious obligation. Even in Christmas. I've been in Bethlehem, military service in Bethlehem. There's nobody there. Now that the PA is there, they've kicked out all the Christians. Very few. There are a lot more Christians in New York City in St. Patrick's Church that are anywhere near Bethlehem on Christmas. And this is supposedly the big yontif. There are no mitzvot connected not to the Holy Land and not to Jerusalem. If you're there, come in. If you're there, visit. Not against that. I'm not against that religiously. I'm not against that historically. And certainly economically, it's a great thing for Israel. Tourism. You got 2 billion people. If a fraction of them come to visit, good. Hotels, restaurants, buses, multiply that. And I give credit to the Christian groups that do come to visit. Historically, Christianity, the closest they've come to capturing it and running it and turning it into theirs religiously is the Crusaders. The Crusaders ran the city from 1099 till 1187. Now, if they ran it at that time, you would think, wait, this is a good time to bring in the Pope. Let's put him on a boat or put him on a caravan and forget Rome. This is the Holy Land. This is the center of the world from their perspective. If you know anything about Christian history, the Via Dolorosa in Yerushalayim, that's the place. Oto Ha'ish supposedly walked. And every time he stopped, they built another church. For that century that they ruled it, the Pope didn't even come to visit. No one even brought up the thought, maybe we should move the Vatican to Jerusalem. Nobody was thinking that. The Crusaders themselves did not make Aliyah. It was a military obligation. You did your 25 years as a Crusader, and you went back home to France, to Germany, to England, wherever. You didn't come and live in the Holy Land. You did your military service in the Holy Land. These are historical facts. They didn't turn it into the capital of the Catholic or the Christian Empire. The Pope did not move there. And here's an interesting tidbit I'll throw in for a second. Like one of these interesting facts that most people don't know. When you go to Yerushalayim, forget the rest of Israel. You see all these churches. This one, there's, in one of the main parks in Gansaker, they call it the Church of the Cross. That supposedly the tree grew there, that from that wood they made the cross. I don't know if you've seen these churches. You go to Iratika, here's the Via della Rosa. Here's the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. Here's the Church of the Ascension. You ever ask yourselves, how do they know that? It's not mentioned in the New Testament. How do they know this stuff? Here's the story. Fascinating. Constantine, a Roman emperor, converted to Christianity in the 4th century. That's when our troubles as Jews started. When the Roman Empire became Christian and not pagan. His mother, Helena, thought she had Ruach HaKodesh. She came to Israel in the 300s, claimed she had visions, and said, this is where this happened. All those churches were built in the 4th and 5th century based on visions that Constantine's mother had in the 4th century. Just something to think about. Islam. Islam shows up to Israel and to Jerusalem in the 7th century. In the Quran, Yerushalayim appears 0 times. 0, Efes, Nada, Yiddish, Gornish, nothing. The closest that there's a mention of Yerushalayim in the Quran is the last surah. It's called the night journey or the night vision, where supposedly Muhammad has a dream where he's flying on a horse from Arabia. The horse has a woman's face and wings, and the horse flies to the furthest place, Al-Aqsa. Muhammad gets off, puts his foot on a rock, gets back on, goes to heaven, and flies back to Arabia. Historically, he never left the Arabian desert. Lahavdil, the Rashis of the Islamic world interpreted that this dream was more than a dream. He actually felt it, and when it says Al-Aqsa, it was Jerusalem. And when the Islamic army showed up in 636, 50 years later, they built 2 buildings. Everybody makes a mistake and thinks, there's 2 mosques up there. There's 1 mosque up there. Yes, 1. The Golden Dome is not a mosque. That is a religious museum. We believe that's Even Ashtiyah, where the Beit HaMikdash stood. They believe that in that dream that Muhammad had, that's where he put his foot. In the corner is a very small mosque with a silver dome. That's the holy building. Do you know why? That's closer to Mecca. So when Muslims daven on Har HaBayit, everybody's backside is to where the Beit HaMikdash stood, to where the Dome of the Rock is, and everybody faces Al-Aqsa. There is no mitzvah in Islam to visit Yerushalayim. None. There's not even a custom. There's a mitzvah in Islam to go to Mecca once in your life. It's called the Hajj. You have to go once in your life to make a Hajj to Mecca. 0 Yerushalayim. Islam ruled Yerushalayim for 400 years. They were the biggest empire in the world. 700s, 800s, 900s, till 1072. Here are the capitals of the Islamic Arab Empire: Cairo, Mecca, Damascus, Baghdad. I'm missing something. Jerusalem was never the capital. For 400 years that they ruled it, no one thought it was important enough to make it the capital of their empire. It was a backwater city. Yerushalayim to the Jews. In the Tanakh, whether it's called Yerushalayim or it's Siyoum, it's mentioned close to 600 times. In the Torah, it's Bamakom Asher Ani Asim Et Shmi Sham. The word Yerushalayim is not used. But that's the place where I will build my Beit Mikdash. Do we have mitzvot connected to Yerushalayim? A few. Everything connected to the Beit HaMikdash is connected to Yerushalayim. The Beit Mikdash has to be in Yerushalayim. We just finished Vayikra. All Vayikra, excuse me, is Yerushalayim. All Korbanot, Yerushalayim. All Avodat Beit HaMikdash, Yerushalayim. The Avodah of the Kohen Gadol on Yom Kippur, Yerushalayim. Aliyah LaRegel, for all of us, our Hajj, 3 times a year, not once in our lifetime. 3 times a year we go to Yerushalayim. Every Bet Knesset in the world faces Yerushalayim. If you were an Egyptian Jew, your shul faced north. If you were a Syrian Jew, your shul faced south. If you were an Italian Jew, your shul faced east. If you were a Persian Jew, your shul faced west. You could tell where Israel was based on when you went to a Bet Knesset. Historically, from the days of David HaMelech, by Elkod David et Mitzudat Siyoum, Ha'ir David. The minute he captured it, a few years later, it became the capital of the Jewish people. And remained that way throughout Beit Rishon and through Beit Sheni. Our Beit Mikdash, 2 Batei Mikdash stood on Har Moriah in Yerushalayim. Sanhedrin on Har Habayit. All of Yahadut centers on Yerushalayim. Meshkachach Yerushalayim, Tishkach Yemini. In Galut, when we get married on the happiest day of our lives, we stop the ceremony in Meshkachach Yerushalayim and we break a glass to symbolize Churban Bayit and the Churban of Yerushalayim and Yehuda. In the Ashkenazic tradition, in the Shulchan Aruch, the Ramah says you have to take ashes and put it on the forehead of the bridegroom. Ad kedei kach. In the modern period, Yerushalayim, the only country in the world, the people ever to make that city a capital are the Jewish people. 19 years, 49 to 67, Jerusalem was divided. The eastern part was in the hands of Jordan. The way the UN and college campuses and CNN, the way they talk about it, you would assume during those 19 years, they must have had 1 billion buses lined up. Everybody was going to Yerushalayim, to Al-Aqsa, to our holy city that we need to bleed for and kill for and God knows what else. And every Arab leader in the world, the Jordanians had 0 income from tourism. Nobody came to Yerushalayim during those 19 years. It was a dead city. Nobody, not Muslims from any country. It was empty. 1 Arab leader went to pray there from the whole Middle East. It was King Abdullah of Jordan. And guess what happened to him when he went to daven there? He was assassinated. He was assassinated by a Palestinian Arab who lived in Jordan because there were rumors that he was going to talk peace with Israel. All of you have been to Yerushalayim. You've been there Friday nights. Yerushalayim for us is their Rome, is their Mecca, combined times 100. It is everything for the Am HaYehudi, religiously, politically, socially, in our tefillot, in our customs, in our chagim, and Aliyah LaBayit. And what happened on Kafchet Iyar, Tafshin Yud Zayin, I think I was in 4th grade or 3rd grade. Even then, I sensed I was living in a biblical era. Something was happening of biblical proportions. Nes Gadol happened on that day. Nisim are happening now every day. Now, every day Nisim are happening as well. Yom Yerushalayim, Kafchet Iyar, don't get mixed up by what you see. Yerushalayim belongs to Am Yisrael. If it's going to be a company, here's how this, and there are 100 shares. The Jews have about 98 of the shares. I'll give 1 share to Christianity, and I'll give 1 share to Islam. And for my own reasons, being open-minded, tourism, please come and visit. No suicide belts, please. No violence. Come and visit and daven and use our buses and use our tour guides and daven and enjoy yourselves. Stay in our hotels. But Yerushalayim is not holy to all 3 cities equally. Yerushalayim is holy, the center of only one people, Am Yisrael. Yom Yerushalayim Sameach.
This next song, Ata El Kabir, is dedicated by the Gonzaki brothers in honor of the wonderful choir boys. As we mentioned earlier tonight, we have a special initiative that we've done that this Kahal has worked so hard on. Since Pesach, we've started learning Pirke Abot. And Baruch Hashem, we were able to be Siyoum. And I want to call up Rabbi Shemula to give us the Siyoum. Abot.
Baruch Hashem, we had an idea, the rabbis, and it's amazing how things take off. We came up with the idea to finish and to make something, a Siyoum that could me'ached, to unify our Kahal. And we came up, we were talking, me, Rabbi Ovadia, Rabbi Jack, we were talking together, what can we do? And the idea came into our heads, let's finish something. It's coming Pesach, it was before Pesach. Pirke Avot would be a great idea. And before we knew it, we're sending out WhatsApp audios. Each rabbi, we rotated the classes. Then we decided, Hashem put it into my mind, I don't know how, just let's put it on podcast. It's on podcast, just the Spotify podcast is over 340 listens. And we started maybe 3 weeks into it that we started posting it. And from one thing to another thing, how it took off. And we have a lot more. We have surprises to come up. We're going to have more programs like that using the digital and making more programs to be in the future. So I just want to finish up the last Mishnah. Last Mishnah of Pirke Hamishi, because the sixth Pirke is not really part of Pirke Avot. It's the first 5 Pirakim. Ben Hehe Omer, said Ben Hehe, Lefum Sa'ara Agra. It all comes down to the amount of Sa'ar, the amount of pain and hard work that a person put in. And the rabbis explained, beforehand we're talking about the importance of Talmud Torah, different ages. Even when a person is older, our commitment to studying Torah, and we mentioned one Mefarish said before, even if you studied, you have to review it. One of the hardest things to do is Hazara. Hazara, I don't care what field. You know it already, got to review it again, and review it again. Okay, I know it already. How many times are you going to review it? And again, and again, and again. It's the hardest. And that's why Ben Hehe comes along, says Rashi and other Mefarshim. That's why the Tanakh ended off the Masechet by telling us, don't worry. Lefum Sa'ara Agra. When it comes to Talmud Torah, the more you study, even though you knew it already, I'm studying it not to forget it, you're going to be paid off in the long run. Others explain any mitzvah in all fields of Torah, not just studying and Hazara. Mitzvot, the harder it is, the more reward you're going to get. I just want to quote for you Harambam, what Harambam says about the subject. And he says, שלא יתקיים מן החוכמה אלא מה שנלמד בטורח ועמל ויראה מן המלמד. The only part of the chokhmah that you remember is all dependent on the amount of toil, hard work you put into it. And that's what he says, the Fumsara Agra. You know what you're going to remember? You're going to remember when you put work, you spend time on it, trying to study it and get to the depths. That's the only time you remember it. This concludes Pirke Avot, Sadik Mesechet Avot. We hope to continue more programs in the future, such as this one, on different parts of the year. That Hashem, Borei Olam should be with us. All those people, I want to thank the Kahal for listening. I want to thank the Kahal for learning. It doesn't matter how much you learned. If you finish the whole Mesechet, Ashrecha v'tov lach, Hashem, a great reward. If you only heard one or two classes, even still, Hashem should bless you. That Hashem will give us encouragement to continue with many more classes.
Siyoum in loving memory of Yosef Conway. Boys, come back up for the final segment. This song is all about gratitude, it's all about Hakarat Tov, and it's all about being happy with what you have. Semach b'ni b'chelkecha. Abot. I want to once again thank Victor Esses and the entire band for everything you've done for us. And of course, the night would not be nearly complete if we didn't thank the one and only Hazan, who were very special, and we're very lucky. It's very special for us, and we're very lucky to have him. I don't know that there's another Hazan in the community who would do what he does. His dedication to the boys, his dedication to the kahal, his training, his teaching them, his taking each boy, each and every single boy to the next level, his patience, and his knowing how to be mehanef as well. It's not a Hazan's job, but he does it. And he does it very well at that. And with that, we want to thank you, Hazan. Come up. We want to present you with this painting of Kotel al-Ma'arabi. Come for a picture. And we thank him for his amazing voice as well. And Be'ezrat Hashem, next year, we're going to present you a picture of the third Beit HaMikdash. And of course, last but not least, the Haron Haviv, the boys. I was listening to you practice all year, and I was very excited for tonight, but you blew well beyond my expectations. I want to call up each and every single one of you to come get your own swag. A nice big cup and of a special Ahava Yosef Hamway Boys Choir logo hat. We want to thank Barbara Savvy for making all of this come together. We're going to call you up one by one. David Ben Attar. Eddie Blanco. Hi, Blanco. Joseph Blanco. Alan Cohen. Abraham Yaakov Goldstein. Yaakov Haddad. Eli Mizrahi. And the fourth, Siyoum Singh. And all of the boys come up to the stage for a picture. Leave your swag behind.
Same place, come boys. Come on, boys. Ready? Come on, Yaakov. Haddad. Come on. כל עוד בלבב פנימה נפש יהודי הומייה ולפת מזרח קדימה עין לציון סופיה עוד לא אבדה תקוותנו התקווה בת שנות 2000 להיות עם חופשי בארצנו ארץ ציון ירושלים להיות עם חופשי בארצנו ארץ ציון וירושלים. Thank you very much.
Azak Baruch, Tefilat Arbit. Do not forget Shema and the Omer if you've already prayed. And we have the shuk open downstairs. Go and enjoy.